Hey everybody. I actually thought that before the new year, I'm gonna make one more video. Now, this video is kind of personal, but I feel like I would love to share it with people because I've been asked a lot about this and I don't mind talking about it at all. So, what I'm gonna talk about, many of you know this already, but many of you do not, and I have no shame. I was adopted from Russia when I was 6 years old by my parents. Um, Now, what I want to talk about is like some of the background about that, where I came from, what it was like, what I remember. Okay, so here it goes. um, okay, I was born in 1991, obviously, in a city in Moscow called Bryansk. And I was born to actually, again, I have no shame. Um, I was a crack baby. So my mom was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and my dad was a drug addict. So when I was born, I lived with my parents. I lived with them, my birth parents, for 2 years, or more like a year and a half. And they used their welfare money to buy alcohol and drugs. So they didn't take good care of me. I don't really want to go into detail because it's not pretty and it doesn't really define who I am today. So, when I was 8.5 years old, the neighbors called an agency and they came and took me away. And I was in an orphanage, in a baby orphanage, for about a year. And then when I turned 3, I went to another orphanage. And that orphanage was located in Bryansk, Moscow. So, in 1997, I was 6 at the time, and I was adopted by my parents that I have now. And I'm just, I consider myself as one of the luckiest people alive because I was given another chance at life. I was given another life. I was given people who actually cared about me. And to be honest, for the longest time, when I actually got adopted and I came here, for the longest time, I was kind of sad. For like a year after I was adopted, I was kind of a sad person because I was sad and happy at the same time, but I was mainly sad because I felt like my birth parents didn't want me in the first place. Like, all they really cared about was alcohol and drugs, and that they didn't really care about their baby daughter. The reason I have CP is because my dad smoked and did drugs. And crack, obviously. But, so anyway, the orphanage had about 20 kids there. And it was like a big orphanage, but it was like one room. So you walk into the room and there was like a long table with placemats and forks and, food. And where we all sat together as an orphanage to eat lunch and dinner. And then we had a little playroom, and we had 2 big dolls. And I remember I would always used to play with those dolls. They were bigger than me, so it was quite funny. We had a bathroom, and we actually had a toilet. We had to walk up steps to go to the toilet. Now, the weird thing is we didn't have toilet paper. So, yeah, it's kind of gross, but we didn't wipe our butts. We didn't wipe our butts. But that's okay, because I do now. Don't worry. This is kind of getting awkward. So anyway, and if anybody has ever seen Madeline, the room where we slept is shaped exactly like that Madeline. The beds, there were like rows of beds, and each little child in the orphanage had their own animal. We had our own locker and our own bed and our own chair, and I was a fish. My locker had a fish on it, my bed had a fish on it, and my locker, and my chair had a fish in it. And some of the things I remember is that the orphanage would make all the kids. The first thing we did, we all got up at 6 a.m. every morning. And what we did was we would make our beds, put on our clothes, and then we would fold our pajamas and put them under our pillow. And to this day, I still do that. And then we would eat breakfast and go outside and have some fun. Now, because Russia was still pretty much a communist country, the orphanage didn't have a lot of money, so all we ever ate was soup and eggs and water and milk. So, you can imagine that when I got to America and I saw all the food that they had, it was like, whoa, man, culture shock. I was introduced to a cheeseburger. When my parents first adopted me, they took me out to dinner, and I had chicken. And my dad said that I ate everything on the chicken, and all there was left was a bone. And to this day, I still eat everything on the bone. What else can I tell you? Okay, the orphanage was not very kind to me or to its children. Neither were the kids there. Because I had CP. Because I walked funny and I talked funny. The kids would hit me and they would call me names and they would pull my hair and they would just tease me. And then there was a time, what they did in the orphanage was we had a limited amount of time that we could clean up our play area every day, and it was 5 minutes. And if we didn't clean up our area in 5 minutes, we would all have to stand in like a line with our hands above our heads for an hour. And that's probably why I have such big muscles. And if we put our hands down, they would hit you on the butt with a belt. It hurt, but that's okay. I didn't let it get me down. Gum was a very prized possession at the orphanage. We only got it like once every month, and we would all share it. We would all share a piece of gum. Yeah. You're probably thinking this is really gross, but when you're in an orphanage where you don't really have a lot, it's pretty cool to share gum. Outside, we ate leaves off trees. If we went outside for the day, you couldn't come back inside, so we had to pee outside sometimes. I remember there was a girl who would always pull my hair. It was funny because I didn't really have a lot of hair, but she would always pull it anyway. I'm like, whatever. What else can I say? I mean, that's pretty much the major details of the orphanage. My parents told me that one of the main reason why they adopted me, because they had a catalog of all the kids in the orphanage that they could adopt, and they said that the reason why they adopted me was because I was the only person smiling. And the people at the orphanage, when my parents came to get me, they said that I was a very happy girl, that I was always smiling and I was always upbeat and happy. That kind of, the underlining message of this video is you may come from like a really bad past, a really bad background, but the past doesn't really define who you are if you let it. The way I look at it, I could have had mental issues because of the physical abuse that I took, and the fact that you were born to a woman who really didn't care enough about you, that she would take care of you, that all she really wanted was drugs. Basically, she chose drugs over me. That's kind of hard to deal with sometimes, and I think about that often. But then I also think about how lucky I am, and that there's no way I would ever think about there's no way, I don't know how to phrase this. When I'm going through a rough time in my life, when I'm sad or sad about something, I just think about how lucky I am. And I really am lucky that I was adopted, because at the orphanage, when you turned 7, you got kicked out into the street because they figured that you were an adult. So in one more year, I could have been dead. So I'm just very lucky that I had my parents. And yeah, so I just wanted to make this video to clear some questions that any of you might have had. And if you do have any questions about the orphanage, just let me know, and I will be glad to answer them. I hope everyone has a very good Christmas and a happy New Year. Bye.